So this is Baruch, and we're back with the ultimate connection with God, the seven-step guide to Jewish spirituality. Now, in the last lesson from Rabbi Mimran, he asked us to time ourselves 2 minutes and watch our minds and try to be as empty as possible of thought. Empty your mind of thought for 2 minutes. It's a very difficult task, actually. How many of us, including myself, tried this during the week, and the last time that we listened to Rabbi Mimran? So actually, we could try it any time. It's a great thing to do. Maybe we'll have a moment to do that here. We'll try it again. So let's come over here to where we started. That was the first step. And in the last year that Rabbi Mimran told us that breathing and meditation go together, because he said, and try and remember this, that breathing is one involuntary function that actually you could make voluntary. In other words, you could take control of your breathing. Most other functions which are involuntary in your body, like digestion and everything else, and beating of your heart, you can't really change it easily, but breathing you can. Now over here we're going to the sources for Jewish meditation, because now we know, like on college campuses, I was in college, there's all kinds of different ideas about meditation. People like to get into that. You have time to be able to look at that and think of that. That's what one of the things that the college experience is supposed to be. Well, here is the college experience for Jews. And so it turns out that, we are in fact an ancient people. And because of the fact that we've been massacred, butchered, and pushed from one place to the next, it's hard to pick up the pieces and to be able to get back into the framework of our fathers before us. But it still exists. And that's one of the things that's going on in this generation is that people like Rabbi Mimran, and people like Yaakov Cronenberg, etc., and going on, he says what they're trying to do is reclaim our heritage, reclaim our relationship to God and how we do it. So here we come over here to, this is from the Gemara Talmud in Brachos, page 32b. The righteous ones of early times would wait an hour before praying in order to focus their mind to Hashem. The commentaries explain that they would clear their minds of worldly matters and connect their minds to the blessed Master of all things with awe and love. Now that's probably really important when we think about the 2 minutes that we want to spend over here, just trying to empty our minds. This would result in 9 hours of their day where they would leave their learning and work for the sake of solitary meditation and attachment to Hashem. They would visualize the divine presence, the presence that above their heads, as if it would completely envelop them while sitting within the holy light. Now, that last phrase, one more time. If you're sitting in awe and love of God, as he says, that's a component. So it has to be that our motivation is really to express our love of God. This would result, now how we got to 9 hours of their day, they would spend, 9 hours of the day, they would leave their learning and work for work. They would do that for the sake of solitary meditation and attachment to Hashem. So these are regular people. They would visualize the divine presence above their heads. This is one of the things they would do, as if it would completely envelop them while sitting within that holy light. Good morning, Brachos. This is a statement about 1600 years ago and earlier. So we will endeavor to show in this chapter that meditation has played a central role in Judaism for millennium. It does not exclusively belong to Eastern religions. As found in the Jewish tradition, the original word in Hebrew for meditation is hisbodedus, or hitbodedut. The verb to meditate is represented by the word hitboded. The root word badad means to be alone, self-isolation. Sefer Chovat HaLevavos, the Eicha Rabbah, Shar Cheshvon HaNefesh, and Shar Yichud 8 and Mesilas Yesharim 1526. These are all books. Mesilas Yesharim for sure is in English. One of the later commentaries, Rabbi Meir Levush, the Malbim, as you're looking down now at 1809 to 1879, clearly states that Yitzchak Avinu was engaged in a classical form of meditation. The Be'er L'chai Roi. Now, this is a place that is designated in the 5 books of Moses, was the place where the angel had appeared to Hagar after she and Yishmael had been driven away by Sarah, and since an angel had appeared there, this place had become a shrine. This is the well of the living vision, L'chai Roi. The Malbim writes this was a holy place at the time because an angel had been seen there, and Yitzchak went there each afternoon to meditate, hitboded. It is significant to note that Malbim used the term hitboded, which, as we have seen, refers to the inner isolation of meditation. Now, those who are familiar with the Chassidus of Breslov, then you see that the word hisbodedus is mentioned all the time in the work of Rabbi Nachman, but not just by Rabbi Nachman. And here we're going to see the Sefer Haredim written in Tzfas in Eretz Yisrael by the Rabbi Mekubal Lazar Azkari. This is 500 years ago, 1533 to 1600. Writes in Siman 65, in many Sephorim books, authored by the Rishonim, these are earlier rabbis, the rabbis that lived around, let's say, before and after the year 1000 of our current count, we find that the pious Jews used to practice isolation, meditation, and mental connection with Hashem. After isolating themselves, they would disconnect their minds from all worldly thoughts and attach their consciousness to the Master of the universe. Now, this is what Rabbi Mimran is talking about when he talks about monkey talk, when he talks about the looking at the talk that's going on in your mind. The Rizal as well taught that this practice is extremely beneficial to the soul. The Ramban wrote that the word shev, which means remain, in the verse Hashem said to Yaakov, arise, go to Beis El, and remain there, shav shama, means to meditate. In other words, to go to this place, to isolate yourself, and that Yaakov was told to focus his thoughts on Hashem through meditation. The Shulchan Aruch and Orach Chaim also states that meditation is a way to prepare for the highest levels of prayer and for prophecy. Now, we live in a world where everything is moving extremely fast, and that people who go to pray together, which is a mitzvah in the Torah, to make a minyan of 10 people, to pray together, young people have to get to work, and older people can't keep up. It is a mixture of all these different things coming together to praise Hashem. This could be a difficult thing to see that you're going to get to a position where you can empty your mind before you go to pray in that kind of milieu. This was the practice of the early Chassidim and men of virtue. They would isolate themselves and concentrate on prayer to the point of becoming completely disconnected from the material world and fully absorbed in the realm of the mind. Thus they become close to the level of prophecy. One of the greatest of all Kabbalists, Rabbi Chaim Vital, his dates are 1543 to 1620, writes in his legendary work Shari Kedusha that in reality it means much more. It is a process by which a person separates his physical body from his soul. One must seclude, that means made misboded, or he said hitboded, in his thoughts to the ultimate degree. The more one separates himself from the physical, the greater will be his perception. Now we understand that basically we're saying that the core of life is not physical. And that in order to go from something which is not physical to us, as a transformation has to come into that light. And that transformation is called hismatus. Hismatus means minimizing. The light is the light of nothing. It has no correspondence to our world. The world is a clothing for the light. So therefore, what the real truth is, the more one separates himself from the physical, the greater will be his perception. The Ralbag, who is also Rabbi Levi ben Gershon, we're going back here to the year 1288, 1344, so let's say that's the 14th century. He's a major Jewish philosopher, also known as Geronides, clearly writes in Milchemet Hashem that the receiving a prophetic revelation requires the isolation, once again, his bodedut, of the consciousness from the imagination. Wow. He says, again, requires the isolation, separation of the consciousness from the imagination. Imagination is not quiet. Rabbi Avraham Maimonides, son of the famous philosopher, codifier, and physician Rabbi Moshe Maimonides, the Rambam, writes in his work Sefer HaMaspik, the Ovdei Hashem, that there are two types of isolation, external and internal. Now, what does that mean? External isolation is nothing more than physical seclusion, going someplace else, just not being with anybody else. But internal isolation refers to the meditative process, where one isolates himself both spiritually and mentally. A number of biblical verses are seen by Rabbi Avraham as referring to such a meditative state. But what is even more important is the fact that the Rambam himself, in the Yad Yisodi HaTorah, speaks of his bodedus with respect to the prophets, saying that it was one of the important techniques through which they attained their high level. From his writings, we clearly see that he is speaking of meditation. Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azulai, also known as the Chidah, many people are aware of the Chidah that is in the scholarly circles. He lived in the beginning of the 19th century, or that he lived until the beginning of the 19th century. He is a Sephardic leader and Kabbalist. In his favorite Sefer Avodas HaKodesh, Tziporim Shamer 5, writes that the root of everything is meditation, once again his bodedus. It is a very great and lofty concept, making a person worthy of all holiness. When a person meditates, he is clothed with holiness. When one meditates, he is also attached to God, even with regard to his mundane bodily needs. Okay, the words of Rabbi Yosef, Chaim, Mimran. Now, it's one of the things that I said that we might do, and I'm going to turn on my timer, and we're going to attempt, once again, 2 minutes of silence. Watch your mind. Watch your imagination. Here we go. So there is our second 2-minute meditation. Were you able to feel the light that he spoke about? Were you able to watch your thoughts? Today seemed it was shorter than 2 minutes, because I'm not sure what 2 minutes feels like. It's not a long time. Anyway, this is, once again, the ultimate connection with God, and that is what we seek. We seek His light. This is Baruch Fleischman, Tikkun Elevator Kola.